You know that moment when you look at someone you care about and realize they don't see you the same way anymore. It's subtle at first, a missed call, a short reply, a shift in energy. But deep down you feel it. They used to light up when you entered the room. Now, you're just there. Here's the truth that no one really wants to say out loud. People stop valuing you when you stop valuing yourself. Not because you're not worthy, but because you've been overgiving, overexplaining, overstaying, hoping they'll wake up and appreciate you. But what if I told you there's a simple shift you can make right now that flips that dynamic without a single argument or tear? No game, no manipulation, just power, quiet, confident power. Because when someone doesn't value you anymore, the worst thing you can do is try harder. And the best thing, disappear emotionally. Not to punish them, but to reintroduce yourself to you. In this video, I'm going to show you exactly how to do that. One subtle move that speaks louder than words and changes everything. Because the moment you stop trying to prove your worth is the moment they finally see it. So if you're tired of feeling like an option, buckle up. You're about to become a priority, not in their life, in your own. Let's begin. Let's talk about something most people never realize until it's too late. The way you see yourself sets the tone for how others treat you. When someone stops valuing you, it's easy to spiral. You start asking yourself, what did I do wrong? Or how do I fix this? But that entire mindset is built on one dangerous assumption, that your value is dependent on how someone else responds to you. Let that sink in for a second. We live in a world that teaches us to chase love, chase validation, chase attention. And when it slips through our fingers, we start thinking we must be the problem. But here's the shift. What if the problem isn't how they see you, but how you've been seeing yourself? Think about it. The more you try to prove your worth to someone, the more they subconsciously start believing you must not have any. Why? Because true value doesn't chase. It doesn't beg. It doesn't perform. It exists quietly and powerfully. And people feel that. This isn't about becoming arrogant or cold. It's about realizing that your energy speaks before you do. When you carry yourself with quiet confidence, when you stop trying to convince someone of your importance, the energy shifts. That's when people start to notice your absence, not because you left, but because you're no longer trying to stay. The mindset shift that changes everything is this. You are the prize, not because you're perfect, not because you have to become someone else, but because your love, your attention, your presence are valuable. They're not things you give out like samples. They're earned. And if someone can't see that, that's their blind spot, not your deficiency. You don't prove your worth by giving more. You prove your worth by giving less to people who treat you like an option. You don't reclaim your power by trying to be what they want. You reclaim it by remembering who you were before you started shrinking to fit their world. A lot of people lose themselves in relationships, romantic or otherwise, because they start to believe that love is something they have to work for. But the truth is, real love doesn't feel like chasing. It feels like peace. It feels like being seen without having to shout. And here's where it gets real. The people who stop valuing you. 9 times out of 10, they were drawn to you when you were in your power, when you had standards, when you had boundaries, when you weren't afraid to walk away. That's what attracted them. But over time, you started making exceptions, letting things slide, compromising your needs, all in the name of keeping the connection alive. But now it's time to flip the script. When you adopt the mindset that you're not here to convince anyone of your worth, you stop being afraid of their distance. You stop being afraid of silence, because silence becomes your power play. It's not weakness, it's clarity. You're no longer trying to be chosen. You're choosing yourself. And ironically, that's when they often come back. When you're no longer accessible, when you stop chasing and start aligning. When your energy says, I'm not angry, I'm just unavailable for anything that doesn't match my value. So the next time someone starts pulling away, don't beg, don't panic. Take a breath, pull your energy back, and remind yourself you were never meant to be someone's backup plan. You are not the option. You are the up. This shift won't just change how they see you. It'll change how you see you. And once that happens, everything else falls into place. Now that you understand the mindset shift that your value doesn't decrease just because someone failed to recognize it, let's get into the trick that changes everything. This is where you stop telling someone what your worth is and start showing them, here's what you do. You emotionally unplug. That's the trick. And it sounds simple, but it's powerful, because emotional disconnection, when done with self-awareness and intention, is one of the most magnetic things you can do. Not coldness, not bitterness, but silence, stillness, pulling back your energy without a fight, without a speech, without a warning. Here's the step-by-step breakdown. Step 1, you stop initiating. That means no first text, no checking in, no asking to talk, no inviting them to reconnect. Let the silence speak. People notice your absence when they've grown used to your presence, and the only way they'll feel the shift is if you give them the space to miss it. Step 2, you protect your energy. That means no stalking their social media, no obsessing over their stories, no secretly hoping they'll notice you pulling back. Because this isn't about manipulation, it's about realignment. Your energy is sacred. Don't waste it wondering what they're thinking. Focus on what you're feeling. Step 3, you upgrade in silence. While you're pulled back, you invest in yourself. Hit the gym, read the books, work on that goal you've been postponing. Not for revenge, not to make them regret, but because your healing deserves your full attention. And when you stop pouring into someone who isn't reciprocating, you finally have enough left to pour into you. Step 4, you stop justifying. No long messages explaining why you're hurt. No emotional outbursts. No making sure they understand what they did. That's over. Your silence is the explanation. Your withdrawal is the consequence. You don't need closure when your peace becomes the answer. Step 5, you hold the line. The hardest part is when they do reach out, and they will, more often than not. When they feel your absence, they'll want to test if they still have access to you. You'll get the "hey, you good?" or the random double tap on your post. But don't fall for breadcrumbs. You're not starving anymore. You've been feeding your soul. If they truly value you, they'll show it in actions, not in vague check-ins or half-hearted replies. And if they don't, you already have your answer. This trick works not because it punishes the other person, but because it forces you to stand in your value, and that energetically is felt. People are intuitive. They can feel when someone is desperate for their attention, and they can absolutely feel when someone is no longer emotionally available. When you stop being so easy to reach, they start realizing what they've lost. When you stop showing up the way you used to, they finally sit with the void you used to fill. And that void, it's not to hurt them. It's to remind you of how much you gave. The key is to do this without anger, without ego, and without trying to win. This isn't a game. This is your life. And the more you value your own peace, the more life reflects that back to you through people, opportunities, and love that meets you where you are. So remember, the trick isn't about disappearing from their life physically. It's about pulling back emotionally. No more over-explaining. No more chasing. Just energy retraction, quietly, powerfully, and complete. Because when someone stops valuing you, the only trick you need is to stop making yourself so available. Watch what happens next. Let's get real for a second. If you've ever tried explaining yourself over and over to someone who just doesn't get it, you know exactly how exhausting that is. You pour your heart out, hoping they'll finally understand. You think, if I just say it the right way, maybe they'll change. But they don't. And you're left feeling unheard, frustrated, and emotionally drained. That's because words, no matter how honest, how vulnerable, or how raw, don't change people who aren't ready to listen. You can speak from your soul, but if someone's not tuned in, it won't land. That's why this approach works better. When you stop talking, when you stop over-explaining, and you start moving differently, people are forced to feel your absence, not just hear about it. Silence hits different. Distance hits different. And when someone who once had full access to your heart suddenly feels that energetic door close, that's when the shift begins. See, we live in a world where attention is currency. And when someone becomes used to your constant emotional availability, the texts, the calls, the support, the check-ins, they begin to take it for granted, not always out of malice, sometimes out of comfort. But either way, your consistency becomes background noise. But the moment you go quiet, you break the pattern. And that break in the pattern speaks way louder than any "we need to talk" ever could. It's not about playing games. It's about preserving your energy. Sometimes people need to feel what it's like to lose access to you before they realize how much they relied on it. Let's be honest. How many times have you explained your boundaries only to watch them get ignored? How many "I'm tired of being treated like this" conversations have you had that led nowhere? But the moment you stop giving, the moment you stop being so emotionally present, they notice. Why? Because now they have to sit in the silence they helped create. It's human nature. People value what they fear losing. And most of the time, it's not your words that make someone realize what they had. It's your absence. It's the sudden realization that the energy, the love, the presence they used to count on is no longer there, and they start to question, did I mess up? Did I take them for granted? And if they don't, that tells you everything you need to know. This approach gives you clarity. It removes the noise. It shows you who values you without you having to beg for it. Because at the end of the day, someone who truly cares won't need endless explanations. They'll feel the shift and come correct. Or they'll stay silent and show you who they really are. So next time you're tempted to explain yourself again, remember this: actions speak, energy speaks. And your silence, it might be the loudest message you ever send. Let's not sugarcoat it. Pulling back, letting go, and choosing yourself doesn't come without pain. Even if you know it's the right thing, even if you know they didn't value you, the truth is, it still hurts. Because when you care deeply about someone, withdrawing your energy from them can feel like tearing out a piece of yourself. You're not just walking away from them, you're walking away from the hope that they'd finally see you. From the version of the story where they wake up, realize your worth, and treat you the way you deserve. And that grief, it's real. It's not weakness, it's proof that you loved honestly. But here's what most people miss. You can be heartbroken and powerful at the same time. Reclaiming your power doesn't mean you feel nothing. It means you choose yourself anyway, even through the pain. It means you let the tears fall, but you don't let them drown you. You give yourself permission to feel, and then you rise. Pain is not the enemy. Pain is the messenger. It shows you where your boundaries were crossed, where your needs were unmet, where your voice was silenced. And once you listen to what it's trying to teach you, you can use that pain as fuel, not to get revenge, not to become cold, but to rebuild from a place of self-respect. Pain is not the enemy. Pain is the messenger. It shows you where your boundaries were crossed, where your needs were unmet, where your voice was silenced. And once you listen to what it's trying to teach you, you can use that pain as fuel, not to get revenge, not to become cold, but to rebuild from a place of self-respect. This is the part where your healing begins. Not in the silence they gave you, but in the silence you now give yourself. The kind that's filled with reflection, clarity, and growth. You start realizing that the love you were giving away so freely, it belongs to you first. You start pouring it back into your own heart. That's where the shift happens. When you go from asking, why didn't they choose me, to realizing, why was I trying so hard for someone who didn't see me? It's like waking up from a spell. It's not easy, and it doesn't happen overnight. But each time you choose not to reach out, each time you sit with the discomfort instead of running back to what's familiar, you get a little stronger. Reclaiming your power isn't loud. It's not dramatic. It happens in quiet moments. When you close the chat window instead of sending that message. When you stop checking if they viewed your story. When you say to yourself, I deserve more than this. And the more you practice that, the more you'll find that the pain starts to lose its grip. Not because it disappears, but because it no longer controls you. You've taken your power back. You've remembered your worth. So yes, it's going to hurt, but don't run from that. Let the pain guide you back to yourself, because the goal isn't to feel nothing. It's to feel everything and still choose you. You're not broken. You're rebuilding. And what you create on the other side of this will be stronger, wiser, and more unshakable than anything that came before. So what happens when you actually try this? When you pull back your energy, stop chasing, and shift into a space of self-respect, what should you expect? First, things will feel quiet, uncomfortable even, because you're breaking a habit. You're no longer doing the thing you've always done, checking in, fixing the vibe, trying to keep the connection alive. You'll feel the urge to reach out. You might wonder if they even notice you pulling away, but stay with it, because that silence, that's where the transformation begins. And soon enough, you'll start seeing the results in yourself and in how others respond to you. Here's what you'll likely notice first. Your anxiety begins to shift. The same energy you once used to obsess over their behavior, you'll start channeling that into your own healing, your own goals, your peace. You begin sleeping better, thinking clearer, walking with more intention. You no longer feel like you're waiting for someone else to validate your worth. You become the source. Then comes the shift in them. If this person was used to you, always being there, always explaining, always trying, your silence will hit harder than you think. Maybe not immediately, but it will. They'll start noticing the lack of your presence. That text that used to come, it doesn't. That emotional support they leaned on, gone. And that gap you leave behind starts to speak volumes. And here's where it gets interesting. Some people will reach out, not because you manipulated them, but because energy doesn't lie. When someone who's always been emotionally available suddenly steps back, it creates tension. And people feel it. They may come back with confusion, concern, or even with respect, realizing they didn't appreciate what they had. But here's the part you don't expect. You might not even want them back, because by the time they return, you've evolved. You are no longer that version of yourself who needed their attention to feel whole. You've raised your standards. You've remembered who you are, and suddenly the bare minimum just doesn't excite you anymore. That's the real result of doing this. Not just making them notice your absence, but finally recognizing your own presence. You feel stronger, clearer, lighter. Your boundaries don't feel like walls anymore. They feel like freedom. You start attracting people, opportunities, and energy that actually match you because you're no longer settling. You stop asking, do they like me? And start asking, do they even deserve access to me? And once you start moving that way, life reflects it back. You'll see better friendships, better love, better self-talk, better everything, because it all starts with how you treat you. So yes, expect it to be hard at first, but also expect to rise. Expect clarity, expect peace, and maybe, just maybe, expect to look back and thank yourself for finally choosing the one person who always needed your loyalty most, you. Once you start pulling your energy back and truly standing in your worth, something interesting begins to happen. Their energy shifts. People may not say it out loud right away, but their actions start revealing the truth. They're realizing your absence, and more importantly, your value. So what does that look like? One of the first signs is that they start checking in randomly. You'll get a "hey, how have you been" text out of nowhere. Not because they're just being polite, but because they feel your energy isn't where it used to be. They're not used to the silence. They're testing the waters to see if they still have access to you. Another sign, they start engaging with you passively, watching all your stories, liking your posts again, maybe even commenting. They're not saying much, but they're watching. Why? Because now that you're not pouring your attention into them, they're trying to stay connected without having to admit they miss you directly. You may also notice they bring up old memories, little callbacks like, remember when we used to, or I was thinking about that time that's not by accident. They're trying to reopen an emotional door using nostalgia, hoping it softens your boundaries. Another subtle but powerful shift. They suddenly start being more consistent. They respond quicker. They seem more present. They ask more questions. It's because they're feeling the absence of your emotional investment, and now they're realizing they actually missed it. And here's the deeper sign. Their energy gets nervous. Maybe they ask, are we good, or did I do something wrong? That means your detachment has created tension they can feel. You're not reacting like you used to. You're not emotionally available on demand. And that calm, collected distance, it's unsettling for them because it means they're no longer in control of your emotion. But here's what's important. Don't mistake attention for intention. Just because they start noticing your worth doesn't mean they're ready to honor it. Some people come back out of guilt, curiosity, or loneliness, not because they've truly changed. That's why your job isn't to fall for the signs, it's to observe them without giving away your power. Watch what they do, not just what they say. If their actions align with growth, consistency, and respect, then you have something to work with. But if it's just breadcrumbs and recycled charm, you already know what to do. The point of this shift was never to get them back. It was to get you back. And now that you're standing in your power, you don't need validation from someone else to prove your worth. You are the validation. So when the signs start showing, and they usually do, stay grounded, stay centered, and remember, them realizing your value means nothing unless you remember it first. Now that you've been through the emotional shift, pulling back your energy, reclaiming your worth, and watching as the people who once took you for granted start realizing your value, it's time to level up. It's time to move forward, not just with hope, but with a clear sense of purpose and strength. The first step in leveling up, self-love. And I don't mean the type of self-love where you just tell yourself, I'm amazing, and hope that's enough. I mean real deep self-love, the kind that's reflected in the way you treat yourself, the boundaries you set, and the way you prioritize your own happiness above everything else. You've spent enough time giving to people who didn't see your worth. Now it's time to pour that same energy into yourself. Think about it. When's the last time you truly did something just for you? When's the last time you celebrated yourself without waiting for someone else to recognize it? Self-love means investing in your well-being, your growth, and your peace of mind. It means choosing the things that bring you joy, whether it's a hobby you've put on hold, a career goal you've been too afraid to chase, or just time alone to recharge. This is your time to reconnect with your passions, your purpose, and the things that make you feel alive. As you do this, the more you practice this kind of self-care, the more you'll see how your energy shifts. You'll stop feeling like you need validation from anyone else because you'll become the source of your own validation. You won't be chasing anyone's approval anymore. You'll be chasing your own dreams, your own fulfillment. This isn't just about relationships. It's about your entire life. As you embrace self-love, your career, your friendships, your health, and your happiness all start reflecting this new, empowered version of you. You stop feeling stuck in the past, wondering what went wrong. You stop overthinking and start acting with intention. You become unapologetically yourself, and that's when you truly start thriving. Now, moving forward means you don't carry the past with you. You don't hold on to the pain of being undervalued, misjudged, or mistreated. You learn from it. You take the lessons, the wisdom, and you move on with your head held high. You understand that sometimes people leave, not because you're not enough, but because they couldn't see you for who you really are. And that's their loss, not yours. The path ahead is yours to create. With every step you take forward in self-love, you build a future filled with respect, love, and joy. You level up because you believe you deserve to be the best version of yourself, and you're not settling for anything less. So keep going, keep rising, keep loving yourself. The best is yet to come. As we wrap this up, I want you to take a deep breath and remember one thing. You are worthy. This journey you've been on, the pain, the growth, the shifts, it's all leading you to a place where you recognize your own strength. And that strength, it's irreplaceable. You've faced challenges. You've had moments where you felt unseen or underappreciated, but now you're in a space where you know your value. You've learned that no one can take that away unless you allow them to. So no matter where you are right now, whether you're still healing or just starting to reclaim your power, I want you to hold on to this truth. Your worth is non-negotiable. Whether or not someone else recognizes it doesn't change the fact that you are enough, just as you are. Remember, the most powerful thing you can do for yourself is not to wait for others to validate you. It's to validate yourself, to show up for yourself in ways that no one else can, to honor your own boundaries, to give yourself grace, and to celebrate the victories, big or small. You don't need to explain yourself to anyone who isn't ready to understand. Your silence, your absence, and your emotional investment in you are all signs that you're finally walking the path you deserve. So keep pushing forward, keep loving yourself, and know that with every step you take, you're attracting the love, respect, and opportunities that align with who you truly are. The future you're building is brighter than you can imagine. And it all starts with you. Stay strong, stay confident, and most importantly, stay true to yourself. You've got this.